day, do a Dumbledore. Give me the power I beg of you.
Die, Chelsea! You'll never put me back in that closet!
Ow! Why do I feel like something is... Ow! Stabbing me in the stomach! Ow! Something stabbing me! Ow! It's like diarrhea! Ooh! But it's worse! Ow! My love! Why hast thou forsaken me?
I'm digging you a desert grave underneath the burning sun. I'm digging you a desert grave. You won't be found by anyone. Burying the sins of man in an eternal tomb of sand.
Chins from Planet Vodka! Chins from Planet Vodka! When in dead critics attack, the chin people don't cut them no slack. Vodka! Woo! Lesbian mice.
Hey everybody! So today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite horror franchises, Child's Play. It's just so freeing being able to be here with you guys without that obnoxious jerk next to...
You thought I didn't know, did you? Thought you were so clever and so smart, didn't you? Voodoo doesn't work on chin people.
But I watched you die.
It was all an act. Do you think I'd let you murder me that easy?
Can we just go back to reviewing horror movies?
Now him goes up when he don't win.
Let's just talk about Child's Play, alright?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play? Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Oh good, she's broken. Finally I'll be able to do this review in peace and quiet and not
So
be...
we're gonna be bringing this franchise down by our least favorite to our favorites. Do you know what ascending order means?
I know what condescending and ass means.
He knows big words.
Before we get to that, there's some really interesting things to know about this series.
The common theme between all of them is that not only do we have the same voice actor, Brad Dourif, for all 6 films, but we also have the same writer, Don Mancini, and the same producer, David Kirshner.
The directors have changed quite a few times, but now it looks like Don Mancini wants to stick to directing these films.
The first Child's Play was directed by Tom Holland, who also directed Fright Night 3 years prior. In 1985, the original screenplay for the film was titled Batteries Not Included, but they found out that Steven Spielberg was producing a film of the same name, so the title was changed to Blood Buddy, due to the original name of the doll being Buddy, not Chucky.
They of course ultimately changed the title to Child's Play and renamed the doll to Chucky. Full name Charles Lee Ray, based off of 3 real-life killers.
Charles, of course, for good old Charles Manson. Lee for Lee Harvey Oswald, who 360 no-scoped JFK.
Back and to the left.
And Ray for James Earl Ray, the man who assassinated Martin Luther King.
That's a nice variety! The original screenplay was a very different story about a doll named Buddy, who Andy makes a blood pact with, and the doll comes to life whenever Andy goes to sleep to act out Andy's subconscious bidding.
What a messed up kid. It was rewritten several times, though finally as a collaboration between Don Mancini, Tom Holland, and John LaFia, who went on to direct the sequel.
Didn't he also do that movie Man's Best Friend?
Oh my god, I love that movie. Wasn't the dog's piss like acid?
I think so. I also remember him like climbing up a tree like a kitty, but that was hilarious. Anyways, there was a special homage to Tom Holland in this film by having a good guy doll named Tommy, to which Chucky buries him in the backyard. That was one of my favorite parts.
There was also a courtroom scene that was supposed to happen in part 2 where Andy's mom would be there with a bunch of evidence and the Chucky doll, but the idea was put on hold all the way until part 6, Curse of Chucky, in a similar fashion.
The third Child's Play was directed by Jack Bender, went on to direct a lot of TV shows including Lost and Under the Dome, and was supposed to have an army of Chucky dolls. Yep, we see Chucky's blood dripped into a vat of plastic, and that would essentially make all the good guy dolls evil killer Chuckies. This was such an awesome idea that Don Mancini was pushing, but I guess due to financial issues, that idea was prevented.
This is where the series took a turn more into a horror comedy with Bride of Chucky, directed by Ronnie Yu. There's a lot of interesting Easter eggs in the movie. For instance, the opening scene in the evidence locker room shows off Jason's hockey mask, Leatherface's chainsaw, and Michael's Shatner mask, and Freddy's glove.
This could have been foreshadowing to his film Freddy vs. Jason 5 years later. Also, Bride of Chucky has John Ritter, and in Freddy vs. Jason, the lead was played by John's son, Jason.
Oh, now that's fitting. Oh, and John Ritter was also supposed to appear at the end of Child's Play 3 as a security guard during the aftermath at the carnival. That would have been a nice tie-in.
Remember when Tiffany gets Bride of Frankenstein fried in the bathtub?
Uh-huh.
That was actually intended for Maggie, the babysitter, in the first movie, but instead they went with her being bludgeoned and suiciding out a window.
Let's move on to Seed of Chucky. Don Mancini finally takes the helm at directing, and we go from horror comedy to just comedy and bizarre. I think it's a good bizarre, though. This film just really cracks me up with all the different things it has going on.
I still say it would have been better with the original casting choice.
What do you mean?
Well, the role of Red Man eventually took was written for Quentin Tarantino, and I think that would have drastically changed the tone of humor.
That would have been amazing.
We still have some awesome cameos, especially John Waters. I was so in love with that man. We really have to review some John Waters films soon.
Ooh, Pink Flamingos or Desperate Living would be awesome.
Oh, I know, right? Female Trouble, Hairspray, Cecil B. Demented. I know people are weird about that one, but I love that movie. I guess the television spots for Seed of Chucky were required to disclaim Britney Spears does not appear in this movie. That cracked me up when I read about that. I mean, come on, Britney, let Chucky kill you in a movie. It can't be worse for your career than what you're already doing to it.
And now we're to the latest film, Curse of Chucky, also directed by Don Mancini. After Seed, there was a lot of people complaining that they wanted Chucky to go back to his roots and to make a stripped-down horror film, not a comedy.
It's exactly what he did. I mean, it's also the first time we've had a Child's Play movie go straight to DVD. It almost made me sad. It really brought a lot to the table with filling out some loose ends, opening it up for more sequels, and tying together the whole series.
I think it's time we broke back this mountain. Let's start off with our least favorite and work our way to our favorite. Unfortunately, there's no clear-cut losers in this series. They all hold up and are all badass in their own ways, but here it goes. They picked a different actor to play Andy. Well, I guess they had to if they were going to jump ahead 8 years after Child's Play 2. But still, Andy is now in a military academy and Chucky delivers himself to finish what he started, but now has a new option on where he's going to hide the soul.
I feel so wrong for putting this last, but having just rewatched the whole series again, it just doesn't hold up to the others, especially the anticlimactic ending. If you've seen the previous 2 movies, then you know how hard it is to get rid of that little bastard. But in this one, it just felt rushed.
Yep, and basing it entirely out of the military academy made it kind of cheesy and boring at times. The kid Tyler had some great interactions with Chucky, but still, there wasn't enough murder, kill. Well, here we are, 4 years after the events of Seed of Chucky, and Good Guy Doll has been shipped to Sarah and Nika, who live in an isolated mansion. In this installment, we get to learn what has been going on with Chucky between the events of Seed and now, and also learn some history before the events of the first movie.
This is a hard choice between our 4th and 5th favorite for completely different reasons. Curse of Chucky brought back the great horror elements that tied the story back together, but it still felt constrained to a haunted house setting with a lot of unlikable characters and really bad CGI that was completely unnecessary.
The CGI blood just drove the nail in the coffin for this one.
At the same time, the ending of this film and going into the extra ending in the credits and then the extra ending after the credits made me jump out of my seat and worship Satan.
Hallelujah, Beelzebub is in the house! Seed is set 6 years after the events of Bride, where we find that Chucky and Tiffany's love baby was stolen by a ventriloquist to soon escape on a mission to find his family and to learn what his identity is. They finally get together in the bonded family of psychopaths who go on to capture Jennifer Tilly and Redman to attempt to transfer into their bodies.
Like I said, completely different reasons. This is about as far off the map you can go with a horror sequel, but it was freaking hilarious.
Billy Boyd, who played Glenn or Glenda, stole the whole show.
You get it, guys? Glenn, Glenda, Ed Wood. Come on, awesome reference. Between Billy Boyd, John Waters, and impregnating Jennifer Tilly, how could you go wrong?
Well, some of the jokes really fell flat, and this would have been a shit ton better with Quentin Tarantino, but still, it had enough weird and crazy moments to keep you entertained throughout.
Top 3. Between all of these next films, you really can't go wrong.
This one takes place 1 month after Child's Play 3 and tells the story of Tiffany and her love for Chucky. She manages to get his remains and stitch him back together, but some love affairs don't turn out the way you planned, and Tiffany finds herself transferred in the body of a doll and placed into a situation with Chucky to retrieve the amulet of Damballa from his grave so that they can transfer their soul into Tiffany's neighbor and his girlfriend.
The pacing and stylization is a totally different tone, but it did pick right back up where Child's Play 3 left off and then took it a whole new direction. And the soundtrack for this movie is amazeballs.
This really revived the series and brought Chucky into a new generation.
It also brought in a lot more gore.
Yummy, delicious blood and guts. Oh, my chill lungs for thee.
Oh my.
This one was 2 years after the original and follows Andy being placed into a foster home. Chucky gets a new paint job and tracks Andy down, and luckily there's already a good guy doll in the home Chucky can swap out for himself. Sorry, Tommy, but you know what you did. Chucky is still hell-bent on playing hide the soul with Andy, but is quickly running out of time before he is trapped in the plastic body forevers, or until the sequels.
This was a hard choice between the first 2, but there are a couple scenes in the original that just give it just slight bit more of an edge.
This is what it's all about with Chucky. This film really made Chucky a slasher icon. It took what it can from the first and just made it dirtier and more violent.
I know, like, honestly, like, between Child's Play 2 and Child's Play 1, like, if you ask us every other day, it would probably change on what would be our top one. At this moment, I mean, like, really, this is where the list stands, but yeah, ask me tomorrow, it's totally different. But yeah, going back to Child's Play 2, I mean, like, that teacher. I mean, finally the psycho lady from Donnie Darko gets what she deserves, right?
That's right, Beth Grant, who plays Miss Kettlewell, was also in Donnie Darko. If you look on her indent page, she's apparently been in everything that has ever existed. Where it all began, we find out how Charles Lee Ray transferred himself into the doll in the story of Andy and his mom. Andy has been dying for a good guy doll, and hoping that he'll be getting one for his birthday, but his mom can't afford it. Luckily, with the help of her friend Maggie, she finds a peddler who is selling a good guy doll for cheap. Little do they know, it hosts the infamous serial killer Charles Lee Ray, who seems to only talk to Andy.
The movie is just amazing, even to this day. We love the build-up and story. It really just paces itself in a great way, building up to that ultimate reveal of the doll coming to life. That scene right there is probably my most favorite out of the whole franchise.
I think I blame Chucky for my weird infatuation with surrounding myself in evil dolls around our house.
Tom Holland really understood, like, how to work the audience in suspense and build-up. It wasn't just a cheap scare or a weak payoff. It delivered every time.
It has to be one of the longest, drawn-out death sequences of a doll in all history.
Chelsea, you're spoiling it.
This is the first one. There's obviously 5 more after this, and one on the way. Really? I'm spoiling it? He obviously didn't die, dumbass. God, why are you so stupid sometimes?
I learned it from watching you!
Whatever. Don Mancini is currently working on a 7th installment, and we can't wait. They really hype you up at the end of Curse of Chucky to see more. I just hope it is less confined and kind of goes back to maybe a Child's Play 2 feel.
What is your list on worst to best, everybody? Let us know in the comments, and if you want us to break down another franchise.
Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play? Bye, everybody!